Morning, Isaac. Morning, Andre. Noam, how are you? Well, Tesla's already gapping down. Nothing interesting to see there, in my opinion. It's living below the 200, which is never good. Morning, Doug. Morning, Max. Yeah, Uber's looking interesting. I think the only thing to keep in mind right now, Max, is just remember where we've come from, right? You have to remember that the best time to buy stocks is after a correction. And at this point, the market is far past a correction, right? All sentiment data is bullish. I don't see a single bearish person on the board. AI is the future, robotics are here, right? It's like when in reality, the best time to actually buy stocks was, after the follow through day, early April, well, really mid April. And, you've kind of gotten to a point where your AAII sentiment survey is, super bullish. Your NAAIM, active money managers, they're effectively as long this market as they've been since prior to October of last year, really since last summer. And, just everything is super, super bullish. And, it's been pretty choppy for the last month, despite what anybody might tell you. Yes, stocks are going up, but things are pretty damn bullish, and not just to be contrarian for contrarian's sake, but at some point there's going to be a multi-day slide, there's going to be a pullback, there's going to be digestion, and just be thoughtful of that. I'm not saying things can't go higher, of course they can, but just kind of keep that in the back of your mind when trying to get positioned and stuff. Things definitely do look good. Like I said, I don't just want to be negative for the sake of being negative, but it's good to just know where we've come from and how quickly. Man, I don't know. I'm not ready to buy Oklo here yet. I mean, this thing has just been pulling back ever since highs. It would be one thing to be like, yeah, Oklo's ready to join the train. They're a great company. They make tons of money. But the reality is Oklo doesn't make shit. So, you know, they don't get me excited. The best way to gauge situational awareness for me is traction on open positions. I think that's, and then, traction on how easy it is to get repositioned and stuff. I think that's pretty good tell. The like my current watch list, is it filled with a bunch of names that are like wildly extended? There's a few ways to gauge situational awareness, honestly. They're taking Iron down with it with this core news. All Cores said was they're being acquired by CoreWeave, and then that's kind of affecting the sentiment on like an Iron, although it's up quite a bit. And then that's kind of, I don't know if that'll affect this group. Hut, BTBT, Cipher. Clean Spark. Mara. Right. Thoughts on GCL? No, dude. How is this thing even on your radar, brother? Why is this thing even on your radar? You think it's forming into a stage 2? This looks like a random piece of shit, if I'm being totally honest with you. Trades $300,000 a day. Nobody's buying that thing, dude. You have to think about what a stock trades. There's no market for a GCL. Trades 300 grand a day, dude. There's nobody trading that thing. Yeah, Circle a bit more interesting. Yeah, well, LEU had a better setup way earlier, but yeah, LEU's in a pretty decent group. If this thing could start to take out 185, that would look a whole lot better. I don't like that AS has gone nowhere since earnings. Right, this thing now it did get a little bit extended from the 50, but then it's just done absolutely nothing. Right, so you get this really nice gap up on earnings, and there were a lot of stocks that look like this, right? I mean, I don't want to say a lot of stocks, but there were plenty of stocks that had this move up, the gap up on earnings, a high volume close, and then continued from there. Right, Hudson? So how come AS has just been going sideways for a month and a half, but Sezzle on a very similar looking setup leading into that earnings and then on earnings, right? So you get the nice little move before earnings, you get the gap up on big volume for earnings, and then this one goes totally sideways, where a name like Sezzle ends up making a nice little move before earnings, gaps up on high volume, and then just completely rips every single day from there. You know, I'm not saying AS can't eventually go higher, but I'm starting to ask and wonder what the hell is wrong with AS on a nice move before earnings, a gap up after earnings, a nice high volume close, and then Sezzle didn't go sideways for the last 5 weeks. Sezzle's been going up every effing day. Dave has the exact same setup. Nice little move before earnings. Oops, let's show it. Nice little move before earnings, nice little gap up on earnings, nice pickup in volume, and then it just continues every single day from there. Well, why does AS have to just go sideways every damn day after the exact same looking kind of setup? Right? A nice move before earnings, a nice gap up on earnings, and then all of a sudden, nothing. Right? I mean, I'm not saying AS won't eventually go, but damn, that action's frustrating. You should be moving, dude. But nope. So, yeah, I like Futu. One of the better Chinese looking equities. Keeps building just higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, tightening up against the 20. It's got this level at 127. Looks pretty interesting, but we'll see. My thoughts on BTC are that I own IBIT, and I don't really love the action this morning in the miners, but they're not just miners, right? They're like miners slash, I don't know what else. Plus, MSTR just did another offering. Tell me where you've heard that before. Yeah, size down on new positions. If I'm going to be buying anything, great question. I'll repeat the question, Pato. So, given the NAIM numbers, which is, like 99, and there's excess bullishness everywhere, and we're up like 7 days in a row, what's my game plan for new positions? If I take new positions, I'm going to be buying them off of ascending moving averages or just sizing down in general. Yeah, just sizing down in general. My thoughts on UPath? I haven't been getting tons of traction on the long side anyway. This is a huge stage one base, but it just needs to get moving. I mean, this stock has, it looks like a nice little potential start of a trend getting above the 200, but this has done this a few times and it's really just gone nowhere. Yeah, of course, sector always matters. Half of a stock's price appreciation is directly correlated to the group it's in and the sector it trades in. Yeah, TME is your strongest of all the Chinese equities by far, without question. Yeah, you really can't have EPs below the 200 simple moving average, from my experience. There's no such thing. You need price to be above the 200 simple moving average. AOI needs a little digestion. Let me just take a peek at AOI really quick. AOI is 7 times its average true range from the 50. EMVX has never really done anything meaningful in its life. So we'll be seeing if it actually tightens up above the 200. Like the recent action, nice little move up, nice bit of digestion, big volume coming into this thing above the 200. We'll see if it can tighten. I mean, I wouldn't just buy this thing here. There's no real setup. It's no real setup here. I mean, again, this is one of those, again, where you look at it and you're just like, oh, yeah, it's just every time it makes these pops, it ends up dying. You know, I don't know what's going to happen. Really like the volume that's coming into these in the last 2 weeks, but is it a new theme, new trend? I don't know. Every time somebody thinks batteries are going to be in vogue, they end up dying. PHH a legit move or a scam company? I don't know. I've been asked a few times if this can be the next OST, but I don't really know, to be honest with you. It didn't really the volume didn't get soaked up, you know, all on day one. Who knows? Like the whole float didn't get soaked up on day one. It's not the same kind of volume, but I don't know. This has gotten a little out of hand. I like Transmedics. Yeah, it's just going sideways here. I once owned it, but took the last of my shares off the table on this dump day. I bought it on the earnings gap up. My thoughts on Carvana, I think it's going to go see an all-time high. I don't think the bull market's over until that name sees an all-time high. I'm kidding about the whole bull market having to be over, but yeah, it feels like Carvana is going to an all-time high without question. To be quite honest with you, I don't love Datadog as a high volume close on the inclusion of the S&P 500. I just want you to know, don't base your decisions around trading a stock based on the S&P 500 inclusion. You know, and the reason I say that is I remember BLDR got included into the S&P 500. I want to say like somewhere around here. And then, you know, they scored it up a little higher and then eventually got their asses kicked. So, you know, could it work? You know, could work, but it could be a high volume close setup. Definitely could. Man, this thing got its ass kicked. Holy cow, all the way back to 15. So much for the news. When do I take inside day trades? It depends. I mean, it's got to be a nice inside day. You know, it's got to be like a really nice technical setup. I mean, I will take them. It's not like the go-to setup per se, but I'd have to think that The chart's in an uptrend for sure. LFUS. Nah, no. Look at this chart. You know, when you're looking at this, like when you're looking at this LFUS, you have to zoom out, right? Don't just look at the most recent price action. This price action in general has told you that this stock is a real piece of shit to try and hold and own, right? Not only is it slow, it's not the world's most liquid, trades $34 million a day. It just got over the 200 simple moving average like yesterday. You know, nothing about LFUS should make you want to run and own this thing. Like, look at this action since like as far back as my screens go. 3 years. 3 years, this thing has gone nowhere. You want to own a chart that's gone nowhere in 3 years and assume it's going to start to move now? LIF, this is better. I don't know what group this is in, but I could tell you in 2 seconds. Software application, that seems like a pretty good sector at the moment. LIF, recent IPO, in a nice uptrend, trying to go sideways. I'd say let it digest a little further. This is kind of like a random spot to take it, although, you know, it could work from here, but who knows? Be a little bit more patient. Yeah, I've taken a bigger position if the ADR is low. Yeah, I do that more times than not. But the problem is I don't want to, you know, kind of chew up all my buying power. Would I want to see the 20 catch up on APLD before buying it? The 20 has caught up, Isaac. It's in fact it's below the 20.
An IONQ pricing of a 1 billion equity offering. That's an IONQ. See the volatility on the name. On AGEN, the Genius Quant File achieves 42% year survival and refractory MSSCRC.
Yeah, Coors is being bought out by CoreWeave. Yeah, I don't mind inside days. I don't mind inside days on charts. It just depends on what it is. What do I think about XLE? You know, crude's not really dying at the moment. Crude looks pretty decent. I just don't see so many oil and gas stocks. Again, XLE kind of looks like shit, you know, just technically it's below the 200. You know, there are a few stocks like if you want to own energy, there are a few stocks like MPC. This is in an uptrend and acting better. VLO, that's in an uptrend and acting better. But then on the flip side of that, you know, you've got stocks that look like um, RRC that looked like nice breakouts that just gave back the entire move. You know, AR looked like a breakout that gave up the entire move. CRK looked like a breakout that's now giving up a fat chunk of the move. I mean, you know, it's hit or miss right now with the XLE. It's really hit or miss. So I can't believe somebody just came in and bought IONQ at $55. That shit makes no sense to me. It was just trading at 44. Somebody comes in and buys, who the hell is Heights Capital Management? Buys common stock and pre-funded warrants sold at $55.49 and a 99.88 exercise price on the warrants. What the hell is going on around here? Why wouldn't you just buy it in the 40s? I don't understand. Somebody help me make sense of that. I have no idea. Oh man. Anyway, someone's effing idiots. Was Eat's a nice name. I wish I owned Eat. I took a little loss on it myself. But yeah, I mean, you know, cup handle, who knows? Big uptrend already. I prefer Shack personally because I actually eat there. I don't eat at Chili's. I eat at Shake Shack for sure. They're both in uptrends. They're decent groups. Fortinet, this cybersecurity group is just choppy as shit. It's just very choppy. But you have other names that are acting really well within the group. Net, Zscaler, Rubrik's pretty decent, bouncing off the 50, and then obviously CrowdStrike and PanW. So, Group Act's all right. Yeah, I saw that. I mean, let me just tell you how absolutely stupid that news is. Yeah, Tan is acting pretty interesting. They had their news. They had their news and they bottomed on it. That they were being removed from the Green Deal or whatever the hell it was. So this thing gapped down and then instantly bought back up and made new highs. So this is undergoing accumulation, and it's not the only. It's not the only one. What the hell is going on here, man?
Bit Digital ships entire treasury to Ethereum, becomes one of the largest Ethereum holders among public companies.
They now own a shitload of Ethereum. Come on now. No, I'm not short Rigetti. I took my loss long ago. Not short Rigetti. I posted it in the last thread. I don't know if you read it, but I made a post about some trades I took last month. Vertiv. There's no setup here. This is just wedging higher. Like where exactly do you buy this thing? How do you get involved into this thing when it's literally just wedging higher? Damn, course. Down 17%. What the hell? I think Circle looks good. I mean, it was a big pullback off of highs, but I don't see why it's gapping up this morning, but it is gapping up this morning. I was kind of watching it above that 194 level. Like I said, I don't know that I love it, but yeah, I won't be buying. I would never be buying IONQ on that news. Just because some other moron shows up, it closes at 44, and then they're buying it at 54. Might be the most idiotic thing I've ever heard. CAMT, it's lagging, but it's fine. Doesn't look all that bad. But I don't see a setup here. With that said, like, where's the tightness? Where's the sideways? I don't see it. Oh my goodness, course. Yeah, Cores is they're being bought by CoreWeave, which we already knew, and then they all of a sudden had this like stupid move higher, this $3 push, and then just a complete fade, $6 from there. So, and with it, took down some Hut and took down some Iron. AVAV, they did an offering after the move. So like they had a nice move higher and then they did an offering. At the very least, you have to wait for the offering to be done. So you could think it's a potential bounce setup, but there might still be a seller, and so you have to look for the news that the offering is closed. And $750 million offering. They upsized their offering, and I don't see that it's been closed. So Futu's got to break out. I wouldn't just buy Futu today without it breaking out. Just be careful on MVST, man. I don't know that they're an actual battery company. I think they're more just a small cap pump, to be 100% honest with you. Why is Core's going down if it's being bought for $9 billion? Well, that's a great question. But I wouldn't question it. And maybe it's not worth $9 billion, and CoreWeave's making a big mistake. CoreWeave's looking ready. It looks like CoreWeave's going down on the news that they're buying Core Scientific. I don't just want to guess on what day it's going to go higher. I don't really like this setup to begin with. DK, you'll see it on my YouTube page, a link, or on my X. No, I don't ever pass on a setup because eyes on X are all over it. I pass on a setup because it might not actually be a good setup, right? Victor, as long as I think that I can buy a stock and it can push away quickly from my average and it's in a good group and the stock's got good earnings and sales, then I don't care about how many eyes on X are on it. That just could be an opinion, right? Oh, a lot of people are watching it. Well, maybe that's all the people you're following, right? It just so happens to be, but maybe there aren't a lot of people actually eyes on it. So, there were a lot of eyes on Hood at 50 and it doubled. There were a lot of eyes on Hood for the last 2 years and the thing's gone up 800, percent. So, kind of keep that in mind. Just because a lot of eyes are on something doesn't mean that it doesn't work, because I've been hearing people talk about Nvidia for the last 3 years. The thing's up, 1,000%. There's been a lot of eyes on Nvidia since the start of 2023, since it went from like 170 to 250, and people thought that it was up too much. So, do they have good earnings and sales? Are they in a top 40 group? Do they have a clean setup you understand? Can it push away quickly from your average? I don't understand what else there'd be to care about, to be completely honest with you. Yeah, the more people pushing it away from your average, the better. Elias, you might be right, dude. How much do I spend time researching fundamentals? I really don't. First things first. Does it have a good technical setup? Is it in a leading group? Right? If it's got a good technical setup and it's in a leading group, then I know institutions are buying it, right? If they're in a leading group and they look like a bunch of their peers, then I know institutions are buying. And then finally, and then I quickly look at their earnings and sales. And if those earnings and sales are positive and they're accelerating, even better, right? Do they have positive earnings estimates? Do they have accelerating earnings and sales for a few quarters? Sam, the gold name got bought out? Oh, good for them. No wonder they were holding up so well. And silver this morning was down. Yeah, I like the move from Unity last week. It's also in a giant stage 1 base. You just look at this thing. I mean, it's gone nowhere for a long time. You believe that both Circle and CoreWeave might have moves like eBay? I think I think Circle's already up 700% from IPO price, or it went up 700% from IPO price. That might already be eBay like. Cadence, CDNS. I haven't looked at this one in a little bit. Yeah, it's trying to bust out to all-time high. Not bad. Oh. Man. ONDS. 40 million bucks. Kind of a dog turd. I don't know, dude. I don't know. What about it? Somebody mentioned it to me over here. I don't know. Random. Who knows? What group are they in? That's the first question. Communication equipment.
GSAT signs a launch services agreement with SpaceX.
GSAT. News with SpaceX. MSTR coming down. I think somebody asked me if I still own IBIT. Yes, I still own IBIT. Oddity, I like Oddity. This thing's been acting pretty decent since earnings. Flex. Yeah, wow. This one looks a little like STX. You guys seen this one? Holy shit, what a move. Woo. Now we're talking. How about YSG? Nah, dude, you need to put a filter on your stocks, dude. You need to stop looking at names that trade under 10 million, $20 million. You don't want one human being to be able to come in and knock your entire stock down. Yeah, yes, it's in an uptrend. This one's better than a few of the others, but one, where's the tightness? Two, this thing's wildly extended from the 50 simple moving average. Right? It's up almost 60% from the 50. I mean, I guess it moves pretty fast for it. So, but look, you don't want one human to be able to come in and knock down your stocks. Strata, you should be mentioning names like, like last month, like Hood or, CrowdStrike or, real companies or even smaller names like OUST or something. something like this. We're trading, closer to 100 million, 50 million. You don't want to be in names that just one person can move around. Like, trust me, you'll be fine one day and you'll be crying the next. One person will come in and just totally destroy the name that you're in. That's no fun. ATAT, yeah, this one's not bad. Trades 40 million bucks, much better. Nice little flag, cup, handle, tightening, sideways, beautiful. Gives you at least a place to manage risk from this digestion. Is that what ATAT is? Are they in the hospitality industry? I didn't know that, actually. Let me look. Oh, lodging. Yep. And then you could go ahead and look at something like, Marriott. This thing had a nice setup a few weeks ago right in here. And then Hilton, same deal. Fantastic. Move up, move sideways. Beautiful. Good eyeball, my friend. Looks great, Johnny. STX is a Drunken Miller stock. That dude nails them all, dude. I mean, it's crazy. All right, guys. I just realized the time. I appreciate you guys as always for being here. You guys are awesome. 23 hours, I'll be back on live. So you guys trade them well today. I personally don't see much to do, so I won't be doing much button clicking. You guys be safe out there and have a great start to your week. And I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. Yep. Trade them well. Thanks, guys.